Hello, and welcome to our Magic of Boot episode again. The week of 27th of March 2022. I have with me Shudipta Roy. How are you doing, Shudipta?
Super good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Have been very fun week of international football. But before we even talk about international football, I think we should just recap from where we left, such as El Clasico uh, and other games that has happened last weekend.
Yeah, Super Clasico. So many things happened actually. Inter
Yes,
loses point and
yeah.
probably yeah.
So why don't we start from the biggest? I think the biggest, uh, in terms of impact um, of the game. If I say biggest of all, that would not be fair to other games, but biggest in terms of
Biggest
impact.
supporters.
Yeah, exactly. Uh, El Clasico. How did you see that? And I mean, what was your reaction? What exactly was going on your mind?
Well, Barca beat Real in 2018 by 5-1, I guess.
Was it 5-1? Or yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Coutinho
Rafa
scored from
Rafa Benitez was the coach, right?
yeah. Also, Barca beat them in
4-0.
2015, I guess, 4-0. Yeah,
17. 17.
17. Okay. But this is the thing I most enjoyed actually, like watching Barca playing as a supporter, especially. But I kind of did not expect that from Real Madrid, um, in terms of techniques and everything, because I thought at least they would maintain the shape or structure so far. So it was actually a little bit shocking in the beginning, but when they scored like second goal in the first half, there were actually possibilities to score like 6, 7, 8 goals in first 60 minutes. So it was it was kind of um, underwhelmed in a sense of scoring or something like this, but well, best teams won in the end. So, how about you?
Yeah, no, best teams by far for sure. I did expect Barcelona win because I mean Real Madrid, to be honest, although it's El Clasico, they had very little to play for unless the pride of the game itself. I mean they're so
Yeah,
far ahead in the table, and also the recent form is kind of deceiving, given that in PSG games they actually won their tie in last 20-30 minutes. And most
yeah.
of the game, they were the second best, or kind of soaking the pressure. But then, if you could argue that Barcelona were not very impressive in Galatasaray, but Galatasaray is a good side in Galatasaray, especially in Istanbul. It's not an easy side to beat. And Barcelona have done fairly well. I mean, gradually in terms of the identity is there, the stamp is there from Xavi, as well as there is identity on this team, and there is a pattern. There is the pressing. A lot of people doesn't. I don't know if people notice or not that center backs positions and how they are glued to the opposition teams, and how the resistance to the pressing has been worked out, and stuff like that. Those are very minute things, and those things are improving, ever improving with the players. So it's not as, and also with the all the players up front, they're scoring for fun. So it's not as surprising for me because there's a point to prove for Barcelona, and they have fairly done it. But given that it could have been easily 7 or 8 nil, so I think that's
Actually, this Barcelona kind of like in a scoring sense, they actually underperformed in the match because there were these statistics I saw that probably in FIFA or somewhere else, like Barca's first in the last 12 games they were unbeaten, or well, before the Clasico it was 11. in the first six matches, they were kind of like overscored, other overscored in the sense that like they, yeah, overscored than XG, but they underscored in the last five matches or six matches if we count the Clasico under the XG. So it was when they're underperforming in the sense of they could have scored more. So uh, Real Madrid have this incredible goalkeeper who is probably one of if it's not, if it's not his form of his career, but it's still like one of the best goalkeepers right now. And they have like strong defense, like especially in the center back zone, where Barcelona was missing goals, like in past six, 4 or 5 matches. So yeah, I was expecting some sort of like how can I say, mm, a resistance from Real Madrid defense, at least. That's what they do. Like there were some incredible Barca teams played against some incredible Real Madrid teams, and there were actually some sort of resistance. And Eder Militao is brilliant so far in this season. So does David Alaba. But what actually changed everything is that like they overloaded those position with players like Pedri and Frankie De Jong. Um, they did not know like how to cope up with this, because there were only Casemiro at some points. Like these three guys were playing against like four players. Sometimes Ferran Torres was tucked in, and it was it 3v3 is already like unwinnable situations, especially if you are thinking as a defender. And there were 3v4 at some points, and Xavi actually did pretty well. Like he completely read the game, Real Madrid's game, and completely destroyed them by a little bit change. If you remember, I mentioned like in the last match from Galatasaray, or probably the match before that, Barcelona is were how can I say, like receiving the ball too late. Especially Pedri and Frankie De Jong, they were like at least 2 yard um, or yard and a half in front of the goal, and then they were in the midfield, and there were some sort of like loose connections between them and Busquets. So that was the problem, and it was not the problem in the Clasico game, because they were actually like on the both side of Casimiro and Valverde, or sometimes Tony Cruz, and they were actually they were actually receiving the ball where they're supposed to be and making those runs, and there were some sort of like false runs in the wings. So it's kinds of like yeah, they overwhelmed them in the core of their midfield, and Real Madrid doesn't have any sort of answers. There were at a time like in the first few minutes of the second half, they were playing as a three in the back. um, uh, Mariano Diaz probably came in, and but even with these ideas, like with five in the backs, or creating those sort of shapes in the middle of the game, and I don't see Real doing that in the whole season. So it was kind of like a desperate, but it wasn't enough to counter the brilliance of Xavi so far.
I obviously the Xavi has to be praised, but I think it's horrible tactics from Ancelotti, because Ancelotti put the team in a way that assumes that Barcelona will build up from back, like from shorter passes.
Yeah,
But here's the thing: this Barcelona is more vertical. They can go vertical easily, uh, and then obviously. when you put Modric and Toni Kroos to press, it's not going to be sustainable for a long time. And it was kind of ridiculous kind of position for Valverde to whenever he gets the ball, he's going into the position such as false nine or 9.5, something like that. But then again, I think he wanted to overcompensate on that and giving back what Barcelona is good right now because they have the pacey players. If you have Dembele versus Nacho, there is one winner, Dembele. Although Dembele can, have some poor touches and stuff like that, but he's going to win anyway in the night, given the 90, even 45-minute
Well, he
period.
just needed, yeah, he just needed one run. That's it. Like
And,
one run can destroy another team.
and I think it's a very good man management from Xavi as well, because when you give Dembele too many options, he always chooses the wrong option. But he has given a specific option to stay wide, even for Ferran Torres or Dembele. And I think Ferran was kind of coming in as a second striker, while Dembele stayed up there, and he tried first goal where he crossed and went outside of Nacho. He tried to go inside, I think 3-4 times to Nacho. So Nacho was under the impression that he might come in. So he was giving space to outside, and he just went back. Like even Nacho wasn't even there, and and I think Barcelona got players right now who can come with a late run and go in between the spaces. And the center back pair, there was no communication in terms of Militao and Alaba. There's like who is covering who and who is covering what spaces and stuff like that. And there was like complete meltdown of that. That was, I think, where Ancelotti especially tried to compensate with the three men in the back, which actually went horribly wrong. It could have been easily 5-6 nil within 10 minutes of the second half. And Ferran Torres obviously missed the first one, then there was the second one, and if you give one versus one to those players, and especially the players are Nacho versus Dembele, or say for example the um, was on the right. I think it was Militao versus Ferran, who's always gonna come inside, or if he stays wide,
No,
there's
actually, it was Carvajal, and Ferran was not running directly. He was going around or like
exactly.
making carving run between the center backs and right backs, and
So Carvalho was definitely beaten. So when Militao goes for covering and there is a space open up, either Pedri runs in or either Frankie De Jong runs in. So these obviously I think Ancelotti definitely said it's on him, but again it's hard to see a very well renowned and very reputed manager got it completely wrong.
yeah. Also, like in terms of getting the ball back, there were also like probably everyone mentioned that actually, even in the first after the first half talks. In Sky Sports, I saw like pundits were mentioning this about putting Modric and Cruz in front to press Busquets and the center backs, and it went horribly wrong. Then they are not like 26 years old anymore.
And say for example, if say even Modric was 26, even
Yeah,
that doesn't make sense.
it's not a good shape, like a four
It's
foot
not
two,
his
like it's
usual
yeah,
position, right? So it's
yeah.
not normally whenever a player plays in certain areas, he has that reference, he has that you know identification, and if you put someone in somewhere else, it's not you're taking away those attributes of the players, and you're expecting that to perform in certain other part of the area. It's not that transferable easily.
Yeah, also when Barcelona has the ball, if you remember, there were some sort of situations like when Eric Garcia were stepping up and then actually pass the ball to someone else, and he actually got probably a card. I don't know. I don't remember, but the idea behind that actually, like to lure the forwards, like on the other side of the pitch, probably it was Asensio who was playing, and yeah, he was trying to make those blocks in the midfield from Busquets, He was running around at that area, or sometimes with Jordi Alba. And when Garcia were stepping up, he had to leave his points and move a little bit forward. It also opened up spaces in front of Modric, and Modric did not actually know where to go actually, because he like along with him there were this guy Pedri who's standing beside him, and just a little bit behind there were Ferran Torres, and Jordi Alba is coming, and he doesn't know. There were like sort of,
I
how can I
personally,
say, so,
sorry to interrupt, but
oh,
I personally
yeah.
thought the Barcelona center backs were fantastic. Especially, Eric Garcia had a fantastic game, and also putting Ronald Araujo on right back position, not choosing, I mean, choosing over Dani Alves was a big call. I guess it's more to do with Vinicius' pace and how Araujo can deal with that. And Araujo is obviously you can talk about him a lot. He has a lot of attributes to be one of the top center backs in the world. But that
Also,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, finish it, please.
No, no, no. I was telling Eric Garcia. I know a lot of people have a lot of unnecessary. I think it's quite unnecessary criticism regarding Eric Garcia, but given his role and given his place at this Xavi's Barcelona, I think he has a lot to do, and he has done fairly well so far.
Probably, yeah, exactly. It's what I was going to end in the uh, yeah, but the thing is that like he still have to work on his defense, like especially in the counter attacks. But other than that, like when he has the balls, and he's basically the distributor from the game, because Ter Stegen is not doing that actually from the back, and this I think at least surprised Real Madrid actually,
Yes.
because they actually thought like, okay, we know tiki taka, this will be this, but Xavi's team is more vertical than like Pep Guardiola, even like considering yeah, even more than Luis Enrique. Even he's playing his this Spanish side in this almost same player, but uh, Xavi's team is more vertical in a sense, like they can attack from the back, like in 1 2 passes, and
Yeah,
that's the
a lot
point
of
actually. Like,
long balls and the
yeah,
runs that are made by the forwards.
yeah, especially with Ferran Torres, what impressed me a lot, like there were some certain runs, like Eder Militao, like he has not no choice but to put him down.
Yeah.
Um,
And if you have seen, not just in the midfield, I mean, in midfield and defense, Xavi's team always had options of passes, but also on the final third. And that's what impresses me even more than scoring goals. And obviously, they have missed a lot, but you always have options. If you choose one of the even wrong option, that's not even a bad option. So there's a lot to be taken from there for Barcelona, and I think that this team is getting really, really interesting and very, very tasty to look.
yeah. Also, one more thing I would add, like it's people probably biting the head of Vinicius. Like he's nothing without Karim Benzema or someone else. Like the thing is that like with Dembele, and after that Adama Traore came in, Nacho has no choice but to lay back, and did not get support from Cruz either, because at first it was Frankie De Jong, and then probably Gabi came in and he was taking down Tony Cruz one on one, and it was one of the wonderful thing to see, like a 17 years old playing like this. But yeah, like he did not get any sort of support in the middle, like
Just a
from
quick
the back.
question. So,
Yeah.
as we talked about Tony Cruz, and Tony Cruz had some problems with Aubameyang's celebration. How do you think that, obviously he scored twice and assisted
Uh,
once, how would have he felt, especially? It's not great feeling, obviously, if you lose the Clasico, and on top of that, you criticize someone on Twitter back in few years ago, and then it comes back to haunt you in front of you.
Well, it's I think it's old rivalry, like from Munich and Dortmund days. Probably something to do with it. Other than that, it's not like anything to take on or something. And lately, actually, he has become more vocal in Twitter.
Yeah.
I guess probably I don't know. At the end of the career, he's thinking about doing punditry or something else.
Okay. Uh,
Yeah,
on
yeah,
that,
but then Thomas Muller actually shared like brilliant gesture in
I
Twitter
I
not
I,
so long
I,
ago.
I don't pay attention to Thomas Muller because he's been trolling for a long time.
No,
Any
actually, he was kind of. He actually sees the games a little bit deep. I think he has the materials to be a really good coach, actually,
well, let's see.
because
Uh, no,
right after the
I'm not saying that he's not. He doesn't have that brain. He is very brainy player because if you see his game, he's very brainy. But not moving to Thomas Muller anymore. If we are So just to sum up, in terms of Barcelona, how big is this win for them is huge because that this gives the boost, especially for the young players, right? And winning
yeah,
it in a certain way because if you remember, certain games such as 6-2 gave that Xavi Iniesta more confidence on any other Clasico they could retain and everything. And I think this is one
yeah,
of
Xavi was criticized and right before that game, if you remember, when Pep Guardiola came in and he actually asked Xavi to run a little bit more further. Well, not as far as Frankie De Jong right now, but a little bit up in the pitch, and it actually changed his whole game actually because at the time he was receiving the balls from the midfield basically in the on the halfway line, and after that actually he was receiving the balls like in the midfield, not like when they're playing from the back. Yeah, like I don't know, 4 or 5 years ahead, and it actually changed the whole game, and
no.
especially with the
What I'm trying to
pace.
say here, what that 6-2 gave that confidence to this midfield trio, especially Busquets, Iniesta. Obviously,
Yeah,
they were wonderful players. I'm not saying that before that they were not that good. They were definitely good, but that gives a psychological edge over whoever is coming, and especially in Clásicos, because these games are fairly psychological, like any other rivalry. And these players, this young bunch of Frankie De Jong, I know Busquets is there; he's not young, but Pedri or Gavi and players like that, they will remember it and cherish it. And those memories gives you a bit of psychological edge when you are playing against the similar setup or similar team. So I think this win has that impact on Barcelona. So it would be interesting to see how this win actually gives them that edge over the years.
yeah, it will definitely going to be big. There were, I think, well, they proved their point to impress players like who they are targeting in the next summer.
For
So
sure.
for yeah, so they always wanted to get into this sort of projects, like if you are a player, or if you have this sort of abilities to do at least like hold the ball within pressure and pass the ball, put pressure on oppositions, and
And
these sort of players.
it is
And
actually fun to play for
yeah,
this kind of team rather
that's
than
what I brought the two wins actually before that. Like, but even though they won those two matches, uh, I did not actually enjoy the whole game. Then even if they lose like this Clasico, um, I
uh,
don't know, like
uh,
even if they lose at some miracles, uh,
so
I would have
when do
actually
you say you didn't enjoy
enjoyed.
the last two games? Or which two games you're talking about?
I meant this past two classicals I mentioned
Right,
before,
right.
like beginning of this show. So that's the thing actually. even if they lose that game, last game, I would have actually enjoyed this lose
No,
loss.
fair,
And
fair enough. No, I think
so
it looks all sunny and blooming. Obviously, in Barcelona side, and obviously you have I think at least 6 to 7 players you need in different positions for Real Madrid. I mean, obviously you can have either or both Haaland and Mbappe, but you still need a very good midfield um, to operate. Or
yeah,
maybe
also
or maybe you
center
don't
back. And well, I don't know, like at
because
least a
if
right back
yeah at
and a
least,
backup center back.
yeah, true. And also some game changers. I mean, the depth of the Real Madrid bench. I mean, in terms of name is there, but yeah, Ancelotti didn't really trust.
Yeah, that's the another thing. Probably we'll bring it later. And when we were talking about the national side, I was going to bring something like Bale's and Hazard's performance.
No, we can definitely talk about it a little bit here because Bale and Hazard has been very good. I don't know about. I didn't see Hazard to be honest. I've seen Bale.
No, Hazard probably hasn't played, but Bale did, and he was brilliant actually. The
It
free
seems
kick especially.
like Isco's career is over, at least, which is very sad to see because yes, Isco potentially is not the great.
Actually, I was following his career until for a while actually, because he was playing brilliantly in Malaga, and then he came in and
Madrid.
he played, yeah, played 3 years probably. Yeah, yeah, 3 years pretty well. And when Asensio came in and some other players came in, and he did not get enough chances, and I thought like he would have lived like lot early, because Arsenal was interested. I remember so far. Also, some other clubs from uh, not London actually, probably Spurs, or were also also interested. And yeah, he could have actually done something. And now he's like 28, 29 probably. I don't think he will get a top club.
No, no, unfortunately. What a wasted talent. So yeah, anything to add on the El Clasico other than obviously? But are you happy with how the entire game has been gone for Barcelona's point of view, and you're not totally sure about? I mean, not really happy from Real Madrid. Is that the morale we're taking out?
Yeah, so far, I would have actually, I don't know. I was expecting some sort of like technical brilliance from Ancelotti. I
But
don't
it
know.
now seems like Benzema is the only key thing for Real Madrid's success. Is it that
Yeah,
true? I
so
mean,
far,
or
even
it gives a false narration?
not not really actually, because there were stats like they were overperforming. And even like right now they are so far. But the thing is that if you remember, like when Vinicius was in the box, he could not actually score. Even Barcelona was not really defending in the last 20 minutes. It's because like the position of the Pique and Araujo, and probably sometimes Gabi, or before that Frankie De Jong. It made him like um, how can I say, he could not actually get into those positions where he used to score goals.
Okay,
So um, it was actually, even if I don't know Benzema was there, they will probably scored 1 and 2 goals, and it would make Barcelona more serious, because they could have actually scored more so far.
fair point. So, uh, are we good to move on from El
Yeah.
Clasico?